Nuel Folktales.
Oh God, will you not avenge this poor old widow? Inspector Tito slapped me and called me smelling and dirty. She oppressed me because I have no one. Oh God, let her life be smelling. Let all she touches become smelling. Let her reality become smelly. Let it be so. Many years ago, in the town of Ijebu-Ode, there lived a police officer named Tito. Tito was a beautiful girl who always stood out anywhere she went. Not because of her beauty nor her body. It was because of her voice. Tito had a commanding voice that sounded like thunder. And when she spoke, people must turn to listen to her, to obey her. Some even feared her. Tito's shout can make a grown man pee himself. Ever since Tito was a little child, she had always wanted to be a policewoman, chasing criminals and helping her community. While other kids her age watched cartoons and animation, Tito preferred to watch police movies. She would sit in front of their small TV for hours, staring at the screen with excitement. Her face lit up like a child who was just handed a candy. Her parents, Mama and Papa Tito, couldn't understand why their daughter loved police movies so much. Tito could fight anybody for the remote just so she could watch her favorite police series. At 12 years old, Tito had already memorized the Constitution, criminal codes and what have you. If she saw anybody or anything on the street that was against the Constitution, little Tito would walk up to that person no matter who they were, and she would tell them they were committing a crime. "I will arrest you when I become a police officer," she would innocently threaten. Tito was bold and fearless, and as the years passed, the indigenes named her Officer Tito because of how she dressed, how she addressed people, even the way she walked on the streets like a soldier. Everybody was certain that Tito would definitely become a police officer when she grows up. Years later, Tito joined the police force immediately after she graduated from the university, just like everybody had predicted. And after her training in the police academy, Tito requested to be transferred to her town in Ijebu-Ode, where she served as a constable and was able to climb up the ranks. Tito's presence in Ijebu sent all the thieves and gangsters into hiding. She was tenacious and upright, and the people loved her. Every day, after work, as she walked down the street, the indigenes would greet her with love and respect. "Officer Tito, well done, oh. Officer Tito, how work?" Some would even give her free foodstuff to show their appreciation. And Tito held her head up high. She felt proud to be serving her community with fairness and justice, just as she had always wanted. A few years later, Officer Tito was transferred to the state headquarters and was promoted to an inspector because of her numerous achievements in Ijebu-Ode. That was where her life turned around. Tito started rolling with the big men and big women from headquarters. She started dining with the commissioner and politicians, and gradually, Tito started to lose her morals and values she had held so tightly for years. She started looking the other way when a crime was committed by those who were allegedly above the law. What do they say? If you can't beat them, you join them. A few months after Tito moved to headquarters, she bought a car, bought a land, and started building. She started sending fat checks to her parents every month. But that was not the height. She met a handsome rich man named Ola, and they fell in love with each other. And in a few months, they were happily married. A few years later, Tito and Ola had two beautiful children together. Everything was going well for them. Tito was living the life. Everything was perfect for her. She had a good home, a job that gave her lots of respect and connections to the people that mattered in the state. Tito became one of the most respected and feared female officer at the police headquarters. One day, a rich woman named Madame Gold walked into the police station and she requested for Inspector Tito specifically. Madame Gold was the wife of a rich politician in the state. That day, Tito took Madame Gold to her office and began. Madame Gold, so what do I owe this your August visit today? Hope no problem, ma. How is Chief? Tito asked with a bright smile on her face. Inspector Tito, I am not fine. I need your help. My only daughter has fallen in love with a low-life riffraff. His name is Kachi, and she had refused to leave him. I have tried to separate them and get her to marry Sylvester, the man I approved, but she has refused. Inspector, I need you to deal with that poverty-stricken low-life boy for me. Lock him up and throw the keys into the ocean if you must. Madame Gold said, fuming with anger. Madame Gold, please calm down. Let me get this straight. This boy in question did not commit any serious crime, right? He is in love with your daughter and has refused to break up with her, right? Bam, Inspector. But you said she hasn't committed a crime against me. He has committed a grave sin. How can a peasant be going after the only daughter of Chief Williams? Inspector, I need you to handle this situation cleanly for me. Madame Gold, this will be a little difficult. This boy in question hasn't committed an actual crime for him to be locked up. Tito tried to reason, but Madame Gold flared up, smacking her hand on the desk in anger. Inspector, anything is possible with money. Name your price. 5 million? 10 million? Any amount, tell me. I will pay to get that boy out of my daughter's system. When Inspector Tito heard millions, she dropped all sense of reasoning she had left. And immediately, she agreed to Madame Gold's request. Madame Gold, don't worry. I know exactly what to do. That afternoon, she mobilized some of her subordinates and they took a police van and went straight to the miserable boy's house. Poor boy. When they got to Kachi's house, they stormed into their poor tiny apartment as if they were going to raid a den of thieves. Inspector Tito kicked down the front door to the small apartment with a great force that made Nene, Kachi's old blind grandmother, almost pee herself. What is going on? Who are you people looking for? Nene asked in panic. She didn't know what was going on and she couldn't see the strangers that were standing in their house. Inspector Tito stepped forward with authority. Mama, where is that your criminal grandson? Where is he hiding? She barked with a loud voice. My daughter, my grandson is not a criminal. What did he do? Nene asked with panic on her face. Tito looked at the old woman in disgust and completely ignored her question. She asked her subordinate to search the entire house to look for Kachi. The other police officers ransacked the apartment, turning everything upside down. And after they had searched everywhere, they couldn't find Kachi. Tito returned to where Nene was seated on the dirty couch and began. Mama, where's your grandson? Where are you hiding him? If you don't provide him now, I am taking you to the police station. You are an accomplice, a thief. Your grandson stole an expensive gold wristwatch from Madame Gold, his girlfriend's mother. And I'm sure you know about it. So tell me where your grandson is hiding. Inspector Tito barked. My daughter, my grandson is a very good boy. I raised him well. He can never steal. I know there is a mix-up somewhere. Officer, please check very well. My Kachi cannot take another man's belonging. Mama, I'm running out of patience. Answer me and tell me where your grandson is, or I will show you my wrath and drag you to the station. You will arrest me? What crimes have I committed? I don't know where my grandson is. He left this morning for his daily job, and I don't know when he would return. Nene tried to explain. Old woman, it's like you think this is a joke, right? We are not here to play. Mama, if we arrest you, then your grandson would come out of his hiding. Mama, you are under arrest. You are following us to the police station. Officer, I may be poor and blind, but I have rights too. Show some respect. Don't you have a mother at home? Is this how you treat her and talk to her? Before Nene could finish her next word, Inspector Tito gave her a brain-resetting slap that almost knocked off her two front teeth. Nene landed on the floor with her butt with a great force that made her shout, "Ewo!" I'm sure Nene wouldn't be able to sit with her behind for one full year after that. You dirty, smelling old woman! How dare you talk to an officer of the law in that manner? Have you lost your mind? If not that I have a mother at home, I would have dealt seriously with you, Officer Tito said, yelling. The other policemen were shocked at how Officer Tito treated the helpless woman, and they were sad, but they couldn't go against their superior, so they just kept quiet and swallowed everything. That day, Inspector Tito ordered his men to drag Nene out like a chicken. They bundled her into the police van straight to headquarters. When they got to the police station, Nene was handcuffed like a criminal and thrown to the back of the counter. Inspector Tito called Kachi with Nene's phone, and she commanded him to run to the police station, that her grandma was already in custody. That day, Kachi, who was working at a construction site, abandoned all he was doing and ran straight to the police station to save his grandmother. But when he got there, he got the shock of his life. Kachi, you are under arrest for stealing an expensive gold wristwatch from Madame Gold, your girlfriend's mother. You have every right to remain silent. Whatever you say or do will be used against you in the court of law, Inspector Tito said as she slammed handcuffs on Kachi's wrist and pushed him into the cell. Kachi couldn't understand what was going on. He had never been to Madame Gold's house or shop, and he definitely didn't steal from her. He tried to explain himself. Officer, I didn't steal from Madame Gold. I have never been to her house or shop before. Officer, believe me. Before Kachi could finish his next word, Officer Tito gave him a hot slap. Shut up, you criminal! Sit down there. If you move, I move you. Thief! Inspector Tito searched Kachi's bag and she found a wristwatch. She let out a sinister laugh. See? I got him. Where did you get money to buy this expensive wristwatch? Eh? You were denying just now that you didn't steal from Madame Gold. Then what is this? Officer, I didn't steal that watch. I bought it from the market for 5,000 naira. It is not even gold. Ma, please check it very well. I'm innocent. My friend, shut up your mouth. Every criminal out there will claim that they are innocent. You are a thief and you are going to jail. That day, Nene was released and sent out of the police station. When she asked about her grandson, nobody said anything. They just left her outside the gate like a discarded tissue paper. Nene went back home with the help of a good Samaritan. But when she got to their tiny house, she couldn't sleep nor eat. Her only grandson was in police custody and nobody was telling her anything about what was going on. Kachi was all she had. He was her hands, her legs, and her eyes. Now that he was thrown into prison, Nene was in a great dilemma. The next morning, Nene begged her neighbor to take her to the police station to see Officer Tito and beg for her grandson. When she got to the gate, they didn't let her enter. Apparently, Officer Tito had given instructions to the gateman not to let her enter. Nene stood outside the gate under the scorching sun from morning till evening, and nobody spared her a second glance. The next day, Nene returned to beg, but nothing. By the third day, One of the police officer, Corporal John, who had followed Officer Tito to Kachi's house to arrest Nene, saw Nene at the gate, and he couldn't help the guilt he felt seeing her standing by the gate, helpless, while her grandson was rotting in prison for a crime he did not commit. Corporal John approached Nene and greeted her. "Mama, good afternoon. Why are you here again? You shouldn't be standing here under this hot sun like this. Mama, go home." "My son, I can't go home. My grandson was arrested by Madam Tito and I don't know what is going on. Nobody is telling me anything. Officer, Kachi is all I have. I can't go home until I see my grandson." Corporal John heaved a deep sigh of worry and sadness and began, "Mama, I have to tell you the truth. Your grandson is not leaving the cell anytime soon. He has offended Madam Gold. Mama, your grandson did not steal, but we had to lie to frame him so we can arrest him and keep him here. Madam Tito will not release him no matter what you do. Mama, I would advise you to locate Madam Gold and beg her. That is the only way for your grandson to be released." Nene burst into hot tears when she learned the truth. She knew Kachi did not steal, but hearing it from the officer's mouth made it all too painful. Her grandson was falsely accused and thrown into prison by a powerful woman, and she couldn't do anything about it. Nene cried bitterly that day. Corporal John tried to console Nene as much as he could. He bought her food and drove her home with sadness in his heart. He too was helpless. He didn't dare go against Inspector Tito and Madam Gold. Before he left Nene's house that day, he told Nene how to find Madam Gold. The next morning, Nene dressed herself as best as she could, and she begged her neighbor to take her to Madam Gold's house. When Nene got to the lavish mansion, she knocked and the gateman answered. "Madam, na who you dey find?" "Good morning, sir. I'm looking for Madam Gold," Nene replied. The gateman looked at the old dirty woman from head to toe and replied, "My madam is not around. She cannot see a beggar like you. Please leave." "Oga, I'm not a beggar. Please help me tell Madam Gold that Kachi's grandmother is here to see her. Please, sir." But all her words fell on deaf ears. The gateman shoved her aside and slammed the gate, leaving Nene outside. But Nene was not one to give up easily. She stood beside the gate. She was determined to see Madam Gold no matter the cost. She waited for 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, and she was still waiting. The hot sun beat nonsense from her body, but she stood there. After hours and hours of waiting, it was then Madam Gold pulled up in front of her gate. When Madam Gold saw the poor dirty woman standing in front of her gate, she was pissed off. "Adamu! Adamu! What is this beggar doing in front of my house?" Madam Gold yelled at the gateman. "Madam, I have told her to leave, but she refused. She said she's here to see you, that I should tell you that she is Kachi's grandmother." Adamu replied, "What? What is she doing here? Call the estate security to throw her out immediately. I don't want to see her poverty-stricken face. If she shows up here again, you will lose your job, understood?" "Yes, ma. I'm sorry, ma. It won't happen again." That day, Adamu called the estate security and they bundled Nene out of the estate. But Nene did not give up. She came back the next day, and the next, and the next, and each time, she was always thrown out like a worthless piece of rag. She visited the police station, but they never let her see Officer Tito or her grandson. Weeks passed, and Nene was devastated. She had tried all she could to get help, but nothing. It was like she was fighting against a giant when she was poor and blind. She cried day and night. Most times, she went to bed on empty stomach because there was no food nor money to buy the food. Kachi was her everything. Sometimes, her good neighbors would bring food for her so she doesn't starve to death. And before you know it, 3 months passed and Nene became sick and weak, with no one to properly care for her. Her neighbors tried their best, but she wasn't their responsibility. One night, as Nene laid weakly on a tiny mat on the floor, in her urine and excrete, she cried out with bitterness that came from her soul. "Oh God, will you not avenge this old poor widow? Officer Tito slapped me and called me smelling and dirty. She arrested my grandson and falsely accused him of stealing after collecting bribe. Let her life become smelling. Let all she touches become smelling. Let her reality become smelling. Madam Gold arrested my grandson because her daughter has refused to leave my grandson. And she threw me out when I went to beg her for mercy. Lord, avenge me and my grandson. Serve Madam Gold her own portion. Let her feel the pain of an old widow who was robbed of her peace. Let it be so," Nene said as she wailed. Nene's words were carried away by the breeze of the night, and the earth witnessed it. The air, the water, all witnessed it, and judgment was served accordingly. That same week, calamity struck in Madam Gold's household. Her husband, Chief Williams, was arrested by the Economic Crime Commission for embezzling public funds, and all their accounts were frozen. Their assets were seized by the government. As if that was not enough, Madam Gold's shop, which was stocked up with expensive fabrics and lace and jewelry, were burnt to ashes by a fire nobody knew how it started, and Madam Gold's empire was reduced to ashes overnight. The storm of calamity didn't stop at Madam Gold's house. It visited Inspector Tito too, and her punishment was unique. Tito woke up one morning just like any other day and went downstairs to greet her family and eat breakfast. But as soon as she entered the dining room, her husband and children all held their nose in disgust and irritation. "Babe, what's that smell?" Ola, Tito's husband, said with a frown on his face. "What smell, Oni? I can't perceive anything," Tito replied, as she was surprised. "Mommy, you are smelling. It's like rotten meat," her children said. What sort of prank is this? What do you mean I'm smelling? I just had my bath before coming downstairs." "Babe, please go back upstairs and shower. And please use a deodorant. Please, before you kill us with your body odor." Tito was baffled. This was definitely not a prank, judging by her husband and her family's reaction. And even the maid was holding her nose in disgust. Tito sniffed her shirt and armpit, but she smelled normal. So what was going on? Not to argue with anybody, she went back upstairs to shower again. This time, she used all the expensive scented body wash she got from Dubai. She scrubbed her skin till it became red, and when she was done bathing, she showered herself with all the expensive bottles of perfume from Dubai. But her family said she was still smelling like a rotten meat. They said the smell had even increased. Tito got angry that morning and she stormed out of the house for work. But as soon as she stepped into the police station, everybody turned away, holding their nose in disgust, some even rushing out to spit or vomit. Tito was shocked. First it was her family, now the police station. Something was definitely wrong. Tito tried to approach one of her female colleagues, Inspector Damilola, to ask if she was indeed smelling, but Damilola backed away from her and quickly put on a nose mask. "Tito, what happened? Why are you smelling like this? Did you fall inside a sockaway on your way here? Please shift. This smell is unbearable." Tito was dumbfounded. There was trouble. That day, her boss at the police station asked her to leave and go home to take care of herself. He told her not to come back till her smell was cured. Tito left the police station in embarrassment. She took her bath twice that morning and made sure she sprayed a lot of perfumes that her colleagues used to compliment. Now, she couldn't understand what was going on. It was like her life was turning upside down. Tito stopped by a supermarket to get different body wash, but as soon as she stepped into the supermarket, all the other customers turned away in disgust, as if they had just perceived something disgusting. And yes, they did. Tito was thrown out of the supermarket by the manager. "Inspector, sorry but your body odor is making other customers uncomfortable. I can't lose them because of you." It was official. Tito was having a bad day. But the worst was yet to come. When she got home, her family told her that her smell had increased 100-fold. Her younger child even threw up because of the smell. That night, her husband asked her to move to the boys' quarter at the back of the mansion. And Tito had no options but to move so her family could have peace. The next day, Tito went straight to the hospital to get her body checked. But as soon as she stepped down from her car and entered the hospital reception, everybody took to their heels. It was like a decaying corpse had just walked right through the door. Tito was both embarrassed and terrified of her situation. After some minutes, a nurse who wore 3 nose masks reluctantly attended to her, and they took her to the doctor's office, who also wore multiple nose masks because of the smell oozing from Tito's body. That day, the doctor ran series of tests on Tito but found nothing. It was then it dawned on her that this battle was not a physical battle. Immediately she left the hospital. She called her parents and told them what was happening, and her parents started running helter-skelter for solution. Tito returned to the boys' quarters, dejected. She had never been so embarrassed in her entire life like she had been for the past 2 days. For the next couple of days, Tito lived in isolation. Nobody even called her to check up on her. Even her family didn't even come to check up on her. It was then she started reflecting on her life. As she was deep in her thoughts, her phone suddenly rang, and it was her parents. Tito heaved a deep sigh of relief. At least her parents hadn't abandoned her. "Hello, Papa," she said into the phone. "How far?" Her father was silent for long seconds before he began. "Tito, we went to Pastor Matthew's office and he told us something shocking. He told us you collected bribe to jail an innocent man. Tito, we were told you put an old blind widow in pain because of your greed. I couldn't believe it at first because we raised you to always tell the truth at all times. Tito, so tell me, is this true?" Papa Tito asked with sadness. Tito couldn't find her words. It was like she had been struck by lightning. She had even forgotten about Kachi and the blind grandmother. Who would have thought? Tito burst into hot tears. Karma had indeed come for her. "Papa, it is true, it is true," Tito replied. "Hey, Tito, Kai, my daughter. Tito, please release that boy immediately and go and look for that old widow today. The pastor said your flesh has already started decaying in the spiritual realms. Soon, your body will start to decay too, and you will die a slow and painful death. Tito, do the right thing, let God forgive you." Tito hung up the call and immediately called Inspector Damilola. She begged her to do the paperwork and release Kachi from the cell. That day, Tito drove straight to Nene's house. When she got there, Nene was laying on a mattress weakly. She was now looking thin and malnourished, barely conscious. Tito's heart broke at the sight. She called a doctor to come and treat the old woman. She used her phone to order food and groceries for Nene. When the doctors and nurses were done with Nene, Tito sneaked back into Nene's house like a thief because she was avoiding the neighbors because of her bad smell. When she saw Nene, she fell to her knees in front of her. "Mama, it is me, Inspector Tito," she said. "Mama, I have released your grandson. He is coming back home today. Mama, I have learnt my lesson. I have been very greedy and I used my position to oppress you because of my greed. Mama, please forgive me." Nene raised her head weakly and turned towards Tito with tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for releasing my grandson. Thank you for treating me. But please, I want you to leave my house with your smelly body. Don't beg me. You have caused me so much pain, Tito. Go and die with your money." Tito left Nene's house with pain in her heart. The old woman almost died because of her greed. Tito thought about her life and career, and how she had become a rotten police officer who sided with the rich to oppress the poor. She thought about the oath she took to always be fair and upright. Now she had gone too far. She wondered if she can ever find her way back. The next day, Tito went back to Nene's house to beg. She begged Kachi to forgive her for throwing him into the cell for no reason, but Kachi kicked her out. Tito didn't give up. She called her parents to come to the city to help her beg, and they all went to Nene's house to beg. When Nene heard Mama and Papa Tito's voice, begging and crying, her heart softened, and she forgave Tito, and she prayed for her. That day, Tito returned home, feeling a little bit lighter. She still had to go to her other victims' house to beg them. The next morning, Tito woke up feeling refreshed. It was like a heavy weight was lifted off her shoulders suddenly. The curse was lifted. That morning, her parents came to the boys' quarters wearing nose masks as usual, but they couldn't perceive any smell when they came close to Tito. They removed their nose mask, and truly, the dead smell was gone. "Tito, my daughter, you are no longer smelling. I think your curse had been lifted," Papa Tito said, as tears welled up in his eyes. Tito was overjoyed. She ran to the main house to show herself to her husband and children, and they all rejoiced together. Later that day, Tito and her parents went to the houses of all the people she had punished unjustly to beg them. Some forgave her, while others said over their dead bodies. But Tito was determined not to give up. She would still come back to beg every one of them. When they got back home that night, Tito could not eat nor sleep. She just sat on a chair on her balcony, staring into the distance. She thought about all she went through these past couple of days, and she made up her mind to change her evil ways. She made up her mind to become a good cop, even if it meant she would be criticized or ostracized. A few days later, Tito resumed work at the police station, not as the former corrupt Inspector Tito, but as a brand new, just and fair Inspector Tito. She had seen death in the eye and returned, so she vowed not to waste this second chance she's been given. Tito helped Kachi secure a better job so he could comfortably take care of his grandmother. She helped anybody who came to her for help. Tito became a new man indeed. Thank you for watching. Hi lovelies, what do you think of the story? What morals have you learned from this story? The moral of this story is that we should never oppress anyone with the position that we have been given. We should never oppress anyone with our wealth or social status. If you're a policeman, policeman well. If you're a soldier, soldier well. If you're a teacher, teach well. If you're a doctor, doctor well. As everything we do always bear fruit, whether good or bad. Thank you for watching again. Please let me know where you're watching this video from in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so by now. And until I bring another juicy and interesting story your way again, bye for now.